Welcome back to another episode of Guided Mistakes. I am your host, Jenna Allen, and today we have a very special guest. His name is Jarrell Pyro Johnson, and he was featured in the Wakanda Forever Black Panther. He played Jabari Warrior, as well as he was also in the Dinner with God of War, and he played Kratos. And today we are going to talk about how he got into acting and how acting has shaped him now. So welcome, Jarrell.
Hey, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no worries. It's so good to have you. So how did you get into acting?
Well, acting kind of got into me, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
I wasn't interested in being an actor all my life. I wanted to do music, actually. I wanted to get into music. I wanted to be a musician. I wanted to be a music producer as well as a rapper. And I had no idea that I was talented enough to be an actor, and it wasn't even in my radar, to be honest.
But
I could do, how did I transition?
yeah.
Because I'm like, well, where do I? Because I don't want to like, how do I jump? Okay, so basically, um, when I started making music, the goal was to reach more audience. That's the goal of everyone, I think, when it comes to business. So what I did is, I was making all these songs, and I had this friend, and he was saying, "Hey, man, like, this is around 2006, so this is around when YouTube first started." My friend was like, "Well, hey, if you want to reach a better audience, it's better to have a video with it because when people hear your music, they'll put it to a video, and then they will remember the video from the music, and it'll just stick." So I was like, "Okay, I guess I don't know what I'm doing." So but I did it. So I said, well, let me make a music video. I put it on YouTube. It was hard to find a director. I was really not poor, but I wasn't rich enough to afford a video producer or director. So I said, well, I'm gonna try my best. So what I did is I just put it out there. I had some scenes where I don't know, like back in the day when I grew up in the '90s, music videos were very movie driven and theme driven. Like it was a point, it was a story. So my goal was to like make a story. Um, so I made a story. I wrote my own words. I acted in my own, I guess you would call it acting. And my music video hit one person who is my manager now, and she was saying, "Hey, you should be an actor." And I said, "No, I don't know." She's like, "No, your music is good. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to make you put your music down, but you're really good at acting. You have a face for it. You look at it like you'll be good." And I'm like, "Well, I don't know how to act." The biggest fear about acting then for me was like, I don't want to remember lines. I suck at remembering things. I don't want to do any of that. And she was like, "Well, don't you write music?" And I was like, "Yeah." She's like, "Well, don't you perform it?" I said, "Yeah, I have." She's like, "Well, don't you have to remember those lines to perform?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, huh?" And then
Yeah.
she said, "Well, just it's the same thing. Like just act." So from there, she put me in one little small role, and then I started meeting people, and it led to another role, it led to another role, and next thing you know, it, I'm an actor. That's literally how that
That's
happened.
awesome. I actually want to know, like, what is like the hardest part about scripts, if you don't mind me asking? Because I've always been curious. Because I don't know if I could like sit there and remember a line all the time. Like,
Well, it's funny because I'm a director now too. So now I write scripts, not just do I, which is weird how that transition.
yeah,
Um, so I don't know, like, what do you mean on what part? So far as remembering it, or so far as making it? Because there's two different.
there's okay. I
So
see.
I mean, if you want to talk about so far as like remembering it, it's I think the hardest thing is just remembering it. But I've learned tips, and tricks to help me remember. In my mind, I'm programmed to make music. So when I'm learning a script, I put like an instrumental in the background and I act like I'm rapping it. So then,
Oh,
right? So then I remember it. And then when I think of certain things, I think of a tune or the certain sound, and like, oh, okay, that was the word, and that's how I learned
that's
how to remember scripts.
awesome. That's
Yeah.
awesome. So what has been your most enjoyable moment about acting?
To seeing people's faces, it's nothing like. I mean, whether it's good or bad, it's the reaction. I am a sucker for reaction. So
Yeah.
to see people watch me or watch what I create, it just makes it worthwhile, and it makes me want to keep doing it because I can get an expression out of someone, and sometimes it changes lives because sometimes we tell the story, especially when I'm directing or making a movie. It's the stories that we tell that usually help someone that was going through a problem that they didn't know that no one else understood or could see. It helps them through it too.
I love that. That's so awesome. So how has acting like shaped you now? Like what are you doing now?
Well, from there, so now I'm making my own movies. Actually, November 18th is when we're filming my new film called Thaddeus, and it's like a superhero film.
Oh, I love
Um,
it.
right, but it's a little horror in it. I'm trying to mix some genres. I'm trying to put horror, comedy, and drama all in one. So I'm working on that. The Dinner with the God of War was technically my film, so I made that, but that all started from acting. So now I want to make my own films. I put out a book called "It's All an Act," which is teaching people how to become an actor. So it's just literally about how to give back now and just help our new generation learn and love to be actors, basically.
That's so awesome. I love that so much. So how do you find a balance between your like your personal life and then the work that you do?
Well, I think just with anything, any kind of job or work you do, you have to find time to like dissociate. So like take a back seat from your life and join someone else's life. Like usually with my kids, sometimes I'm like, if they're at football practice or a football game and they need like a coach, like I will literally step in to be the coach. Because sometimes you have to just separate. Because if you get so caught up in trying to be perfect and make everything great, you end up messing it all up because you don't focus. Sometimes you have to take a step back and look. So me joining their life and doing things with them, or it helps me understand mine better to come back. It clears my mind, and I think that's the best way to balance it.
That's awesome. So outside of all this, do you have any hobbies?
I like weightlifting. I love
Nice.
working out. That's fun. I love coffee. I know that's not a hobby, but to me it is.
I
Uh,
love coffee too, so it's all
um,
good.
I'm telling you, man, coffee is like the liquid of the gods. Like
I
I
know,
love
right?
coffee. I started helping my girlfriend's business. I started working into the medical credentialing and billing field, which is also fun. So it's kind of like a job, but to me, it feels like a hobby because I love it.
Yeah.
And they say when you love your work, it's not really work.
Yeah.
It's fun. I really enjoy it. I love the message behind it. I love what we stand for. I love that we can help people that can't find the help that they need. And it just, I don't know, it just makes it feel like not only is my life worth more, but it just feels like I'm just doing something that I know when I was a child, it was hard for me and my mom to find help.
Yeah.
So it's just good to give that back.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
that's probably
That's
one of my number one hobbies right now. And it's work, but it's fun. So I don't think it's work, it's a hobby.
there you go. That's awesome. I know I love doing my podcasting and stuff. It doesn't feel like work when you love it. So,
Yeah, at all.
right? Right? It's so awesome. So, I was going to ask you as well. Have you from what I've seen, are you doing motivational speaking now?
Yeah, I have done a few speaking, actually a few, maybe about Ew, a lot. I can't even count on my fingers. I was trying, but I've been talking to a few schools about motivational speaking. I mean, not about about like motivations
Yeah.
and what gets them going and what gets me going and how I started really in a very poor neighborhood in California and how I'm literally going into hotels. And that's funny. I'm gonna tell you a story. Like I remember, I grew up in Compton, California. I'm gonna get back to what I was saying. I don't go off too far. I grew up in Compton, California, and if anyone knows Compton, it's not the richest part of California. Um, we were like a kind of lower middle class family. We didn't really have a lot, but there were times where like my school would take us on field trips to like Beverly Hills and Calabasas and Hollywood. Hollywood back then was kind of cool. It's not cool now. Uh, they would take us to all these places while I wear a Hollywood shirt, right? They took it to all this place, and we just saw these like just places that we could never see where I'm from. But it's so weird to go from there to now, like I'm staying in the same hotel where I used to think as a kid these people were slobs and like uppity and better than me. But it's so crazy because I was literally like last month in like a big, nice, super like a three, $400, $4,000 room hotel when I'm literally looking at it back in the day like these people are crazy. So it's just crazy. So I like to go back to these schools mainly because that's where it starts. That's I think that's where life starts. That's when you learn who you want to be. That's where you meet your friends. That's where you find out just everything about yourself is in school. So it's like it's nice to go back to those schools and tell them the possibilities and what could happen. And if it happened for me, I'm not just blowing smoke up your butt. It can happen for you. Like so. I love stuff like that. I love talking at churches. because it's just I was raised in the church. I'm very Christian, so it's just nice to just go back to my roots too on that level and just let people know that like I'm not. I'm normal. I'm just a regular person. I still bleed the same. Like there's nothing great like by the grace of God, I just I shine His light. But that's what I love to do. I love to go back and tell people about that story.
I love that so much. I think that's so inspiring. That's so cool. I'm also a Christian as well, so that is really, really cool.
Love
I know
that.
I find that it's with because you said like you're just a regular person and stuff. Like that's actually something like don't get me wrong, like I love meeting celebrities, but like they
Yeah.
definitely are regular people. You know, like
Right.
when I and for me, like I'll just use this as an example. So I met Hillary Burton last year
Okay.
and I love what she does. Like she has a documentary called It Couldn't Happen Here and it's all about the justice system and everything. And for me, it is cool that you're famous, but it's what you do to the world. Right?
Right.
That's what I like. I care about who you are, right? Like it's cool that you're famous, but to me, you could be famous or not. But if you're a good person and you're doing good things in the world, I want to connect with you. You
No,
know.
for sure.
So
Yeah.
I think definitely like we need to get back to a place where understanding that yes, like celebrities are cool, but they're still people like us. You know,
Right.
they're just happen to be rich. They just happen to make a lot of money and be in the entertainment industry, but they're still people, right? So I think
Right.
that's really important.
And then like I mean some of them like I get some celebrities, things were handed to them. They probably came from the families. But then you have the people that really fought to get there. And I think sometimes us as people we tend even on my level, even us in this next level, we tend to judge the other person because we just think it just had happened for them. We don't think about some of the struggle that they had to go through to get there.
Yeah.
So I think that's important to just, understand that like I think everyone should deserve a chance until they prove themselves wrong, you know.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I want to, if you don't mind, I want to touch base on like your faith and stuff. So like, do you want to share with me a little bit like how you got into like Christianity? Because you said you were raised in the church, right?
Well, yeah, my grandma was heavy Catholic, so I was I was raised Catholic. My grandma scared the crap out of me in a good way, but I would never do anything wrong because my granny was so like she was very stern, not strict. I would say stern. She had us go to church every Sunday. She made sure that like we were praying every night. We got on our knees to pray. We prayed before every meal. Like I mean, my grandma was heavy. But the funny thing is now that I look at it, I'm like, Granny, were you really Catholic? 'Cause, like she, and I get me wrong, Catholic is a very strict religion, but she was doing like Christian type worship and prayer, even in which I think my Catholic church was kind of a little mixture. Um, and my granny was also in the choir too. But the funny thing is, the Catholic church she went to, they were very I don't know if it's like soulful, like it felt like either some Kurt Franklin or some Fred Hammond was doing it. Like it was very like it didn't seem like the typical, Catholic where they're like in the robes all tight. Like it didn't seem like that at all. So I think it was kind of in my nature. But my mother converted. I think I was around 6 or 7 to a non-denomination Christian, and it was the same. I mean, we still were strict, very religious based, very go to church every Sunday. We go to Bible study, help out in the church, do church activities, and I don't know, like my faith just got really strong once I started. I don't know, like saying that I didn't, because I was young,
Yeah.
so I really don't know. But I know as I got older and once I became like Christian and non-denomination, like my faith got really strong because I used to pray to God and ask Him for things, and He would give it to me. Like not always right on time, but always when I needed it. And I sound like I sound like a Bible right now, but He always would give it to me when I needed it. And I don't know, like even to this day, God has just been like, I mean, I don't know how I would be anywhere without Him right now. Like, and sometimes when I think about it, I'm like, man, like I had heart surgery at 4. Like I could have not lived past 4. Like
Yeah.
it's really crazy. And I mean, it's only by God that I'm here. So that's all I know.
That's so awesome though. Do you have any like really cool like stories on like testimonies that he's done in your life?
Well, I mean, the best one is the heart surgery.
Yeah.
I think I mean, there's a lot of cool things that happened to me. And I could do a fun one because I feel like the heart surgery one is kind of it's fun for me because I made it through, which I think is probably the best testimony. But I remember back in I would say was it 6th grade maybe, And this is before cell phones. Yep, I don't think cell phones were there in my sixth grade. But they came out with this thing called it was like a Bible, virtual Bible. So instead of being like a Bible, it was like in like a little. It looked like but it's not. It wasn't a phone. I don't know what you would call it. It was just like a device that did all the chapters and scriptures. And I was really big on trying to learn all the chapters because in church they gave us money if we knew all the chapters of the Bible forward and backwards. So I was trying to study it. So I would take that in and I would look at it on my break time during school. Um, I remember someone stole it one time and no one knew how. I was so devastated, and my mom was too, because back then that was like a thing. Like that Bible thing, you can find that now, and it's like okay, it's probably $5. But back then, I think it was like $200. It was very expensive and very like it was special to us. And I asked the teachers, I asked that no one could find it. Someone stole it. I remember going home, and I was so afraid to tell my mom. It was so bad. But she was really cool about it, surprisingly. I was like, okay, I got to tell you this. And my mom was like, well, okay, well, did you pray about it? Did you ask God about it? And I'm like, no. Like, why would I do that? Like, that's crazy. She's like, no, ask God about it. So I promise you, I prayed so hard. And I said, God, I don't remember the prayer because I was a child, but it was something around where I was saying, God, can you please return my mom's Bible back in my hand? Because I don't want to make her mad at me, and this is something that she worked hard for. This was a gift to her, so we really want it, right? So I would say probably about 5 to 6 months later, I was walking into class, and I think the dean of the school, not just my teacher, it was like over. He came and he said, "Hey, I think I have something for you." And I mean, I'm not even thinking about this Bible now 6 months ago. Like it's like out of my head. Like I'm like, okay, it's going. He came over and I was like, what? My mom was with me. And he put the Bible in my hand, and my mom literally started crying
Oh,
because it was like, wow, that could be only God. Like 6 months
yeah.
later, and it literally went in my
Wow.
hand, like it, and I visualized how I was going to get it back when I prayed, and it literally was the same way that I prayed. It was in my palm, and from there, it really probably, I mean, yeah, I'm 4, but at this age, it really like changed my whole perspective of
Wow.
like there is definitely a God, and I don't care what nobody says because
Yeah.
that was just brilliant to me.
That is wild. That's
Yeah,
amazing, though. I know that God is amazing for sure. I
yeah,
know, like, I kind of, part of my family was a little bit, like, raised Christian, but, like, the other part of my family, like, we've kind of, like, I have two different sides of the family, right? So one
yeah,
of them is more, like, agnostic, but, I know for me, like, I've been Christian now for, like, 4 years, so because I stepped back from it for a while, right? I
yeah,
went through my typical rebellious phase of
yeah.
life,
We
but
all we all go through it.
yeah, yeah, definitely. But it's pretty wild. It's really cool what God can do and everything.
It
So,
really is.
yeah, that's so awesome. So, what has been your biggest like lesson, I would say, in your just in life?
Well, the biggest thing, and this is one of the actually things I close on when I do motivational speaking or when I talk to someone or even in my book, it's always just knowing that the possibilities are possible. I think that's the biggest thing that I've learned. Because growing up in Compton, I would have never thought. I mean, I grew up around like drive-by shootings and gang violence, like literally every night.
Wow.
Windows are busted with gunshots, and we're laying on the floor praying, and it was very
Wow.
scary at times.
For
But just
sure.
knowing that I went from that, and I'm looking at where my life is and where it's headed, I just know that whatever I want to happen is going to happen because I believe it and I will it to happen. So it's literally just, and that's why I tell everyone, like, just will it to happen. When you
Yeah.
stop believing, when you lose your faith in what you want, that's when it doesn't happen. But if you keep the faith and you keep going, it's going to happen.
Absolutely. I love that. That's so inspirational as well. That's
Yeah.
so awesome. Have you found, has that, like, when you've told people that, like, has it helped them with that?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Especially when you get people that message you back or call you back and say, "Hey, I listened to you and this is what happened." But it's weird then when people start just following you everywhere. Then like you can never do anything now. It's like, "Hey, I'm calling you because I need some advice because you helped me with this one," and I'm like, "Oh man, I'm going to start charging you, man." I kind of want to, but I'm losing my money talking to you. Like I'm trying, but yeah.
Fair enough, fair enough. Yeah, no, it's so cool though. That's so awesome. What has been your like when it comes to the work life? Like what has been something that you've learned in like acting?
Well, of course I'm learning because I didn't go to school for acting, so I'm still technically, and I feel like every day and everything we do, we're always learning. I just feel like so far as acting, I'm still learning new techniques, watching other people act, their reactions. But I've also, the biggest thing I've learned in acting is all about reaction. Sometimes it's not about how you say things. I mean, it's not about what you say, it's how you say it. It's not about what your response is. It's more about how your body language perceives it. I think a lot of people forget about acting. They think it's literally just about remembering words
Yeah.
and saying them back. I think the hardest thing about acting, which is the fun for me now, is your reaction. Is how you respond. Like when you don't say anything, how do you make the words come out without saying them, just based on your body? And I
Yeah.
think that's a key a lot of people miss. Even actors, they miss that. It's not about you remembering some words
Yeah.
because you could just say anything, and if you don't say it right, it's going to be lame, whack, boring, or just not going to connect.
Yeah.
No
That
feeling, you know.
that makes sense. That makes sense.
Yeah.
But no, that's so cool though. Like I actually like I know people, other people that like my other people in my family are in acting and like just getting back into it and stuff. So it's always like I've never really acted before. So like
Mhm.
I always love learning about it, right? Because I'm a very curious person.
Yeah.
I like to learn about all this other stuff. So that's so awesome. So I
Yeah,
want
you
to
you
know
have to
more.
put your.
Oh, oh, sorry.
I'm sorry. Just to piggyback on that, one
Yeah.
last thing, you have to put your own. To make a good actor, you need to put your own experiences into the
Hmm.
role,
Yeah.
and that's how it becomes believable. Like,
Yeah.
for instance, if you okay, say, oh man, it's so hot. Think about the time that you burned yourself on a stove. Like that's what I mean. Like you have to put that in. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. Oh no, go no, it's all good. You can say yeah, no. It's always good learning new perspectives and stuff. So your book, what's your book called and where can people find it?
It's called It's All an Act, which is
Oh,
hilarious. And it's on Amazon, Barnes and Noble. You can just type in "It's All an Act" by Jarrell Pyro Johnson, or just type Jarrell Pyro Johnson, and it'll come up. It's literally teaching you how to become an actor. I think it's a little bit more than that. I put some stuff in there to teach you just how to act in life, like in general.
that's
But it's
awesome.
it's a double entendre, if you would say.
That's so awesome though. That's so cool. So like for people that want to work with you, where can they find you?
Well, man, you can find me on everything. Google Jarrell Pyro Johnson. You can Instagram Jarrell Pyro Johnson, or you can shortcut it Pyro 2 Sick, Pyro the number 2 SICK. Everything usually comes up on Google under that. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, email,
Perfect.
Spotify, iTunes, Amazon,
That's
everything.
awesome. That's so awesome. Well, thank you for coming on today and sharing your story. It was very inspirational.
Thank you for having me, Jenna. It was fun being here, and hopefully we can do
Yeah.
this again.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Thank you.